I'm Lita. It was Christmas Eve, and the cold Tennessee air bit through my coat as I sat in my car, parked just 2 blocks away from my sister Ava's house. The house was lit up like a Christmas wonderland, with strings of white lights twinkling along the gutters and a wreath on the front door. Inside, I knew there were 15 people gathered for a holiday party, a party I wasn't invited to. But what was happening inside that house was about to change everything. My phone buzzed with a text from Julia, the assistant DA handling my mother's case. Warrant is being served now. My heart raced as I waited, imagining the scene inside. I could almost hear the doorbell ring and see Ava open the door, a wine glass in her hand and a smile fading from her face. A few minutes later, I saw 2 Millbrook County Sheriff's deputies lead Ava out of the house, her hands cuffed behind her back. Her face was a mask of shock and disbelief, and I felt a mix of relief and sadness wash over me. Relief that the truth was finally coming out, and sadness that it had come to this. As I watched Ava being led away, I couldn't help but think about how we'd gotten to this point. It all started 2 years ago, when my mother, Florence, decided to draw up a power of attorney. Florence was 76 years old at the time, and she'd been living in the same house in the small town of Riverdale for 40 years. She was a kind and gentle woman, but her arthritis had been getting worse, and she'd started to forget small things. My sister Ava is 3 years older than me. She'd always been the organized one, handling the paperwork and finances for our family. I, on the other hand, worked as a nurse at the local hospital and would visit Florence 3 or 4 times a week to cook dinner, sort her pills, and help her with whatever she needed. When Florence decided she needed a power of attorney, she asked Ava. I didn't question it at the time. Ava was the responsible one, and I trusted her to take care of our mother. But looking back, I should have noticed the signs. Ava's husband, Ryan, had started acting strange around family dinners, and Ava herself had become more controlling. Slowly but surely, Ava started to isolate Florence from me. She changed the locks on the house, took control of Florence's phone, and told everyone in the family that Florence didn't want to see me anymore. When I tried to visit, Ava called the police on me. I was devastated. I couldn't believe that my own sister would do this to me, to our mother. I tried everything to see Florence. I sent letters, but Ava returned them unopened. I called, but Ava always answered the phone and said Florence didn't want to talk to me. I even contacted Adult Protective Services, but they found no evidence of abuse or neglect. It was like I was being shut out of my own mother's life. But I didn't give up. I knew something was wrong, and I was determined to find out what it was. I hired a private investigator, a former police officer named Max. Max was thorough and discreet, and he quickly started to uncover some disturbing facts. Over the past 14 months, Ava had transferred $203,412 from Florence's accounts into an account she held jointly with Ryan. The money had been used to pay off their mortgage, buy a new car, and renovate their house. Florence's bank balance had gone from $287,000 to just $34,000. Max also discovered that Ava had blocked Florence's calls to me and had even changed the beneficiary on Florence's life insurance policy to herself. It was clear that Ava had been using her power of attorney to steal from our mother and isolate her from her family. I was heartbroken. I couldn't believe that my sister would do something so cruel, but I was also angry. I knew I had to do something to protect Florence and get her the help she needed. I hired an elder law attorney named Margaret. Margaret was a tough and experienced lawyer, and she believed me when no one else did. She laid out a plan to revoke Ava's power of attorney, file a criminal complaint against her, and get Florence the care she deserved. We sent a formal demand for accounting to Ava, requiring her to produce complete financial records within 30 days. When she didn't respond, we hired Max to run a parallel financial trace. The evidence was overwhelming, and Margaret filed a petition to revoke Ava's power of attorney in probate court. Ava was furious when she found out what we were doing. She called me and accused me of trying to take Florence's money. She even reached out to our relatives and told them that I was the one who was causing problems. But I didn't let her words get to me. I knew the truth, and I was determined to see this through. As the days passed, the pressure on Ava increased. The DA's office started to investigate, and the evidence against her continued to mount. But Ava refused to back down. She escalated her efforts to isolate Florence, disconnecting the Wi-Fi at the house, changing Florence's phone number, and telling our relatives that I was the one who was trying to take control of Florence's money. But in the end, the truth couldn't be hidden. On Christmas Eve, the DA's office obtained an arrest warrant for Ava, charging her with felony financial exploitation of an elderly adult. And as I watched her being led away in handcuffs, I knew that justice had finally been served. After Ava's arrest, I was appointed temporary guardian of Florence. I moved her into my apartment where I could take care of her and make sure she was safe. The first few weeks were difficult. Florence was weak and malnourished, and she was still struggling with the effects of her arthritis. But with the help of a home health aide and a new doctor, she started to improve. Over the next few months, Florence regained her strength and started to feel like herself again. She went back to church, started calling her friends, and even planted a few tomato plants on the balcony. It was like a weight had been lifted off her shoulders. Ava pleaded guilty to felony financial exploitation of an elderly adult and was sentenced to 5 years of supervised probation, 200 hours of community service, and full restitution of $203,412. Ryan was charged as an accessory and received 2 years of probation and a fine. Looking back on everything that happened, I realized that standing up for what's right isn't always easy. It can be painful, and it can cause tension in your family. But I also know that it's the only thing I could have done. I couldn't just sit back and watch as my sister stole from our mother and isolated her from her family. I've learned a lot from this experience. I've learned the importance of trust, but I've also learned that you can't always trust the people you love. I've learned the importance of standing up for yourself and for the people you care about, even when it's hard. And I've learned that sometimes the truth will set you free. As I sit here with Florence on Christmas Eve, surrounded by our family and friends, I'm filled with a sense of gratitude. Gratitude for the people who stood by me, for the justice that was served, and for the second chance that Florence has been given. And I'm grateful for the lessons I've learned, lessons that will stay with me for the rest of my life. If you're watching this and you're in a situation like mine, I want you to know that you're not alone. There are people who can help you, people who will believe you and stand by you. Don't be afraid to speak up and don't give up. The truth will come out and justice will be served. Thank you for listening to my story. If it moved you, I'd love to hear yours. Drop a comment and tell me, have you ever had to fight your own family to do the right thing? Or are you going through something like this right now? If you are, you're not alone. Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the next story, and check the description. I've linked a video about a woman whose brother tried to sell their father's house while dad was still living in it. Trust me, you'll want to see how that one ended. I'll see you in the next one.